Okay, okay, all right. Hi, Grace. Hello, everybody. This is my third interview for my asynchronous assignment. And again, this is about real conversations with other parents who are also doing their part in pushing the disability conversation and the community living movement forward. And I want to hear and I want you to know and learn from what they're doing out there and what they're experiencing, what their challenges are, and what keeps them going. So, Grace, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And Grace is joining me, by the way, from Alberta. And thank you, 1 hour ahead. So, Grace, please share a little about yourself and the work and Children of Autumn and your lovely daughter. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sarb. Wonderful to be here, and hello to everybody listening. My name is Grace. I have a beautiful adult daughter now, whose name is Julianne. She's 29 years old, and she is on the autism spectrum, or as I like to call these people, autism, because I certainly have learned so much from my daughter and the mirror that she gives me in my awesomeness. And I hope you, as the parents, recognize that your child is actually here on purpose to help us as well as we help them. So I've done a lot of things with my daughter from the get-go. Even when she was in utero, I knew that this was somebody extremely powerful. I have a wonderful son who's 3 years older than her, and she just was so strong in my body. Like there was just this strength, like a Joan of Arc kind of strength. And I was
You
like, who
already
is
felt the
this?
connection, the maternal connection with your child. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I did write a book, as you know, Sar, based on our journey called Children of Autumn, Autism Here on Purpose. And when I was 6 months pregnant with her, I had this phenomenal experience where you could read it in the book, but it was out of this world. And when I decoded it later on in life, I realized, wow, okay, there is definitely something going on here. So, for those people that are aware of the telepathy tapes, I would absolutely recommend that you listen to them if you haven't. I
Mhm.
know for a fact my daughter is telepathic. We've had experiences. I wrote about that in my book.
Mhm.
And that's, my book is kind of old now. My daughter's
Mhm.
29, so I'm a little bit of a
And
veteran.
how long ago did you write the book?
Oh, 8 years ago now? 8 years
8 years
ago.
ago. So, what about the Children of Autumn project that you're working on? So, would you like to just share a little bit about what that looks like? Because I think you've just started implementing that and providing that program to families and caregivers.
Yes, so the Children of Autumn it started off actually as, well, first of all, it came through as a song, as you know, Sarb. And it came through randomly. So Julianne wasn't even born yet. It came through when I was pushing my 1-year-old son to go grocery shopping. So really I feel like it was a gift that was preparing me for my life's work. I would say that.
Mhm.
16 years later, I co-wrote a musical with a gentleman who's Indigenous and another gentleman from Golden, BC, and we staged it with 40 children, and it's dedicated to persons with autism. From that musical, 7 pillars were created. I was commissioned by the Jubilee Theatre in Edmonton for the Fringe Festival to take 7 songs basically and create 7 pillars that I could work with children with, but also trainers, people who work with children and people who work with with special needs.
Mhm.
So I've been doing that for a couple of years. The play itself was first shown in 2009 and then again in 2011, and very likely will be shown again soon, actually.
Mhm. And this
So,
is just in Alberta? I just want to make sure. Oh, you're just
yes.
in the
So,
Alberta province right now?
yeah, so far, it's mostly been in Alberta, for sure,
Mhm.
for sure.
Okay.
But when I went through your questions yesterday, Sarb, I really, got the sense of what have I been doing? The question was, what have you been doing for your daughter? And where I went back to was really when she was of school age. And so
Hmm.
where I first became involved was as an advocate for her education. And luckily for me, I had been introduced to the Sunrise program. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's in the United States. It's a wonderful story that's true. I've met the gentleman who the story is based on.
Hmm.
And I fundraised my way to go there 3 different times, and learned some really key pieces that helped me then manage my own program at home to start with.
Right, right.
So, and then I advocated that that program be also instilled in the school. And that was, that I really had to sell the school on that. But
And your
again,
background is as an educator, isn't it? If I
I,
recall.
I do. I do teach. I teach children music
Yeah.
and drama,
Yes.
and so piano and voice.
Wow.
Um, but
Okay.
this was like a whole new realm for me. Sorry, but I'd never really been an advocator for anything, but I really felt like my daughter deserved an education. And unfortunately, I was seeing what the school, no offense to the school, but what they were doing with other special needs children at that time. And I was like, no, on
Yeah.
some level, I've always believed that Julianne is brilliant. And so I felt like we have to give her an education. And even if that means I have to train everybody in how to do that, if I
Hmm.
have to fundraise to get other specialty people to come
I would
and
like to just interject our just because it's something you shared and I already am aware. I would like you to share with the viewer. So Jules' house. And And so there's this sense that we, the parents, there's this sense of we have this Munchausen by proxy kind of disorder that because we have adult children and we're vocal. Um, so I don't know how to explain that. We also, it doesn't mean that we just sit back, but based on Jules, what I've heard, she dictates what her future looks like through her communication style. Would you share how she does that in the Jules House project? And I've always been fascinated with that, right? And that's why
Mhm.
I would love for you to share about that.
Well, what I would preface with is even if your child doesn't vocalize a lot, so if they're very particular about when they choose to communicate and when they don't, I would take everything that they say as valid, especially if your body gets a real charge out of it. And so just before I go into that, I would just say, like, for example, I took Julianne traveling a lot, actually. And much to the dismay of many people, they thought I was nuts. They thought I was wasting my money. They thought, what is she going to get out of this, etc. And I know intuitively that Julianne loves Vincent van Gogh, for example. I know she loves art. So I took her to a lot of art galleries and so forth. And and anyways, got this backlash of like, you're just wasting your time and you're just wasting your money. When we were landing, the plane was landing, Sarb. I will never forget this moment as long as I live. Julianne leaned forward. I thought she was going to throw up, actually. I thought she was, I had the bag ready. And she whispered into my ear and she said, "Thank you." And it was such a profound thank you. Like my whole body just, I was like, oh my God, like, this child,
Those
absolute.
glimmers, those
Oh, yeah.
glimmers are. Mhm.
Right. And she absolutely got a
Yeah,
lot out of that trip.
yeah.
So I bring that up to preface. Then, a number of years later, I was at a new moon ceremony, and I'm not a witch, and if I am, I'm a good witch. And so I was at this new
We
moon
all love
ceremony,
you.
and I was there because a girlfriend of mine, a younger woman in my life, was a friend. I'm the godmother for her child. This was her first time doing a new moon ceremony. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go to support her. And Julianne just happened to be with me. And so she was participating. And then there's a part where you have to let go of something and then
Mhm.
you call something in. And when it was Julianne's turn to speak, she turned to me and she said, I want to let go of living at dad's. And it was another one of those moments where I was like, whoa, okay.
Okay.
And basically, I want to go to school, she said. So for her, it's this continuing of education. You know,
Mhm.
the message I get from her is, I'm not done. You know, I'm 29, but I'm not done. I don't want to sit in front of the TV set and just rot. You know, I want to wake up in the morning, and she wakes up early, folks, 5 a.m., my daughter, and I want to go to the gym. So they go to the gym. I want to read, etc., etc. I want to go to school. So basically, from that, I purchased a home in Jasper. It became it was awesome. As you know, Sarvik, it was right beside where I was living with my husband. And it was called the Jewel House. And it was a dream that had been birthed while we were on one of our trips, actually in Chartres, France, if anybody knows that place.
Mhm.
And there was three signs other than the fact that it was right beside where me and David lived. Three very strong signs that this is for you to purchase. And there was many hoops that I had to jump through to the point where I really asked my ancestors, like I really got down on my knees, who my parents have passed. And I said to my mother, Mom, if you want this to happen, if you can help me, I need help here because there's a roadblock. And boom, bada boom, long story short, we got the house. So then I was a bit nervous, and I want to share this with your listeners because I was actually quite sick about it. I thought, oh God, like, is this going to work out? Because the idea was it was a it was a home like the L'Arche homes, if you're familiar with them. So it's typical and non-typical people living together. And
So
so I was like, oh my,
inclusive is the language that a lot of
okay,
the mainstream, yeah, use.
right. So inclusive, right? So inclusive. And I know my daughter, and of course, me and my daughter have our own issues with mother-daughter, and that still happens, right? And so I was a bit like, oh God, like what, how is this going to go? And I had a new caregiver that I really didn't know at all. Um, but what I can tell you, it was magic. It turned out amazing, and it was like a microcosm for what the world could be. We had people from the Philippines, people from Japan. We had a woman from England. We had an indigenous woman, all helping and working. These are all Julianne's therapists, all her people that help her with whatever. It could be art, it could be more cognitive skills, it could be more self-help, could be athletic, whatever. But
So in this circle of that surround Jules' world and her life, where are you? Are you there, but you're not inside, or are you outside? Where are you in that circle that it's her microcosm?
right, where I am is I'm managing the team. I'm managing the team
But
because
from the
first of all,
outside. So you're at the outside managing the team.
I'm very much I mean, I still also work with her myself, right?
Okay.
So I'm
Mhm.
very much aware of what she's capable of and what she's not capable of. And it's fascinating because again, I will push her probably more than anybody else. And that's
Mhm.
another message to parents
Mhm.
is, this is your child, right?
Yeah.
And so I will push her probably the most. And some people will come back to me and say, well, no, she can't do that. And I'll be like, yes, she can. Watch, you
Yeah.
know? And so, there's that piece also. If you're not involved, then you don't know. Then you will just take verbatim what you're getting from the people that are caring from them.
Yeah.
So really for me it was magic to watch this amazing, and then the typical people I would hear through the grapevine because Jasper is a small community, would be telling their friends, wow, best roommate I ever had, Julianne. And so it was just amazing, like just
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
so the sad part was we lost our house in the Jasper fire, as you know, and we lost her house as well. Both are down. However, now I'm more than determined to build something even bigger to not just help her, but if I can, be an advocate for, other adult children in the community. I have a list of 16 people. It's not going to be a home for 16 people for sure, but even a few more, would be great. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's amazing work. Like I think of what I've done, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've just survived. And I've been interviewing these families, and I'm just like amazed what's going on out there, but not everybody is aware of. So if you had a message to a parent, what would you want to say to them? A parent that is handed all their autonomy as a family unit, because at the end of the day, family is family. We're looking for services, right? So,
Mhm.
and that's the involved family I'm talking about, not the family that the individual chooses. I don't want them in my life. We're talking the involved family, like Jules wants to be with you and Saffron wants to be with me. But so that voice for that family, it gets very murky because of the boundaries and the systems. So if there's a family out there and you're so involved, and you're similar to me where we just don't take no for an answer. So what would you say to those families? What message, what learning could you give to that family?
What I would say, I think, just with limited time, of course,
Yeah,
is you're going to come to edges for yourself where you're going to feel fear. You're going to feel amazing fear. Like it could be, it could even be paralyzing fear. I've had moments where I couldn't even move out of my bed. Like I was like, what are you doing? Right.
yeah.
And what I would inspire every family member
Can I
to.
quickly expand on that? So when you can't move,
Sure.
is that because of the systems you have to tackle or face?
No,
Or
I would say it's just so I'm a dreamer for sure, and I believe in
you're very
miracles, and
creative? Yes.
I I definitely believe in miracles, and I definitely know. I feel I am her mother, and I know in my body what she's capable of, and we're not done. We're not
Yeah.
done, and so I feel like this is what I signed up for, even though there are days, of course, where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm scared. I'm whatever, whatever. Right.
Okay.
And then it's at the end of the day, I just go, well, Grace, you don't have to. You don't have to
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
Nobody's putting a gun to your head here. This is your choice. If
Right.
you
Right.
want to continue doing this, you continue doing this, right? And
So
and
when it
so
comes to the system, like the funding, the technical, those systems. So is that the mindset you're sharing, that you just say, okay, like, so I go realistically, there's a barrier, but you don't even think of it as a barrier, but they are barriers or no barriers. Is the system working for Jules and your family? Or is it your mindset saying, I'll take this on, it will
Well, I
happen?
think I would say it's a co-creation. I mean, the system, when you say the system, gives me the
Mhm.
financial dollars to um, to have bodies in place
Okay.
that I can then train. So I do the training,
Okay.
that I can then
So
train, right?
So
So the
you're the
system,
manager of her funding. Okay. Because I'm
correct.
trying to,
Yes.
yes, okay. So she's not attached to a service agency, because I'm not aware of this. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay.
No, no, I am
So,
in charge of her funding. And yes, so that's what I mean. So they give me adequate funding. In fact, I'm very grateful to the Alberta government for what I get for funding. So I get very good funding, I would say. And then I disperse that funding amongst people. And then I train those people and observe those people, obviously,
yes,
as to what are their skills that they have that Julianne can benefit from. So we have one girl who's a great artist, and Julianne loves art. So boom, they've done some beautiful art together, right? This other woman, she's super high energy, gym, swimming, sports, right? These kind of
yes,
things. This
absolutely.
other wonderful young man who could make a career out of this, I really truly believe, more the cognitive. He's got the patience to do the spelling, to do the
Hmm.
writing, to do the journaling, to do the reading, that kind of stuff, right? And then there's all these different roles. She has another lady in her life who's like a grandmother to her, who's known her since she was probably 5 years old, so there's all these different people that play different roles. So also being flexible, I would say, as another message to parents is you might not love with all your heart the caregiver, but your child might. And if they do, it's in your child's best interest that you find a way to be civil with this person and find a way to create peace. Like that, I've seen that happen also in my reality.
Hmm.
And luckily enough, that particular person, we're now friends. But there was some moments where we weren't on the same page.
Hmm.
So there's a lot. But I think my number one message, Sarb, would be find your faith. When you hit your wall of fear, don't stop there. Just
Right.
acknowledge it. Yes, I'm afraid. Okay, it's okay. It's
Hmm.
okay. I'm going to walk through this fear. I'm terrified. Every cell in my body might be, feel sick to my stomach, right? However, I'm still going to do it. It's an experiment. And
Right.
you could be blown away by what the results are. Like truly. I
Absolutely.
mean,
I relate with how you're speaking because I believe in Saffron's potential. I believe in it. And I see that coming out of you. It, you see her potential, and whatever you need, you advocate for it. And so I think that's that piece. I think a lot of families are I know people I've interviewed, I've met along the way. That's a barrier they come in, that belief. And I think that's what you're talking about, that fear, right? That grips
yeah.
you and believing in your child.
Yep. Yeah, because I'll give you another example. Like for years, Julianne's been a downhill skier. Okay.
Mhm.
And funny enough, this year, I would say honestly, about 4 to 5 days prior to this little voice in my head said, "Do you think you're crazy to have taught your daughter how to downhill ski? Do you think?" And guess what happened? She broke her leg
Yeah, I
skiing.
remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting how that thought form came in, first of all, like gave me some time to really ponder it and think about it. And where I went with it is no, again, we can't isolate these children from life. Like
Yeah.
they are here to live life as well. And yes, they might get harmed. And when Jules, it was a -20 day, we probably shouldn't have been skiing. It's another story how it happened.
Hmm.
But it happened. She broke her leg. Lots of typical people break their leg. She was amazing in the hospital. She went through the surgery. We had amazing supports. She's healed. The physio is blown away by her progress. She's back at the gym. Will we go skiing again? Yes. Will I be nervous? Yes.
Yeah.
However, she loves it. She loves skiing,
I love
right?
it. Yes.
So this is life. Like we are dealing with what are we going to do? Like isolate these people and put
I
them in a
know.
corner?
Right?
Like in the old days where they put the helmets on them. I mean, she was wearing a helmet, thank God.
Yeah.
She probably would have been dead if she wasn't wearing a helmet. But you know what I'm saying? Like
I know. Like
these are
we
human
have the
beings.
privilege of having these experiences, right? And I'm an introvert. I don't like to go out much, and I can if I want to go out, but so a person who has barriers in their access to go out, and they
Well, I'd
want
like
to
to
go out,
address
right?
something there. I'd like to say
Okay,
something there.
go ahead.
So when you talk about barriers, so before I got the funding from Julianne, and this is key actually, the Alberta government had no funding for me because back when she was first diagnosed, she was misdiagnosed. Okay.
A lot of
And
people are,
so
yeah.
at that time, yeah, she's 29, right? So at that time, the only funding you could get was for people who had autism. And even though, like throughout her whole report, it says, even though she does this, and even though she does that, and even though we're not diagnosing her with autism. Okay. So that was my first advocacy. I fought that. I said, you know what? This is retarded. Like she should be getting funding. Like I don't care what her diagnosis is. She needs funding to, she needs help. So I
Hmm.
went to court. I had to go to court, and that's a whole story in itself. And again, that's standing in your power, even though you're terrified. So it's another one of those. I lost. They came back to me and said, nope, we're not going with. I had another um, company, another organization diagnose her, and they said, oh, yes, she's 99% on the autism spectrum. And they said,
Hmm.
no, no, we're not going with that report. We're going with this report. So, but funny enough, there, right after I got the no, that no, we're not giving you the funding, I got a call from this first organization that did the report and the one that the Alberta government was going with. Okay. And they said, we'd like you to come in again for another session. And at first I'm sure as many parents are, I was very disheartened. I thought, oh, why? Like it's going to be another full day of travel there and back. I got to stay overnight, the costs, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to change their minds, et cetera, et cetera. But this little voice again, it said, no, no, Grace, just one more day, one more time, go. So interestingly enough, we got the same pediatrician that had examined her the first time. However, now this pediatrician had gone through many more courses on diagnostics. And she spent not just 10 minutes with us like the first time, she spent an hour and a half with us the second time. And then she said, oh, yes. She said, yes, yes, yes. She is most definitely on the spectrum, and we're changing her diagnosis or we're changing
Hmm.
her. Okay. So, so at first I got no support. Now, the reason I bring that up is I got volunteers. I got volunteers to help me and amazing. And these
Yeah.
people, were incredible, Sarb. And I trained them
Yes.
all and I gave them feedback. And once a week, I had a dinner at my house, which was like a social for me because I was never going out at all. And
Yeah.
they all came and we discussed how much eye contact was she giving you? Was it spontaneous? Was it asked for? Did she say any words? Because Julianne was nonverbal until 7 years old, and so we had goals and it was incredible. It was incredible. And all of those people for almost a year were volunteers.
Yes.
So I want to share that with parents. Like if you don't get support right away, like, and I mean financial support,
Hmm.
there's people out there, like I am a living proof.
Yes.
You can invite, excite, inspire people to be part of something. And some of the younger people that worked with me, they've gone on to become neuroscientists.
Yeah. Wow.
One person went on to become a nurse. Like it's fascinating. Like
It
this
is.
will be,
The pay it forward that you're providing these people, and that is why I feel so connected with you, because that's the whole parent piece in us, that we want to leave this world a better place for our children who,
yeah.
that's all we want. So we got a few minutes left, and I just want to leave it to you, and I want you to share what is your hope? What's your message to the world for the future? What would you like people to learn? What would you like to teach them for the future?
I would love people to recognize that persons with autism, and I can only speak on that because that's my specialty and my reality, right? But the people with autism are brilliant. They are here on purpose. I absolutely believe they are here to raise the consciousness of humanity. They are extremely loving. They are extremely challenging
Mhm.
because they can see where your own work needs to be done. They will push those buttons until you're crying.
Yeah.
But then it's up to you to make a shift and change yourself.
Mhm.
So I really believe, my hope is that they get the dignity and respect and understanding that they deserve. I also really hope that governments and private organizations step up and help with funding, like financial funding, whether it be for homes, whether it be for educating parents, whether it be for upping, the amount of salaries that people that typically work with persons with autism
Mhm.
receive. Um, But yeah, I think that would be my biggest hope would be that they are just seen as a different type of human, a bridging human, a human that's very love based and
Hmm.
highly intelligent and just operating from most probably a different portion of their brain and
Hmm.
and and asking us to be patient. And I would also say for parents to give yourself, some kudos. Like you're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to
Hmm.
be the perfect parent. You're going to be unkind sometimes. And you just need to let yourself forgive yourself and say, you know what?
Absolutely.
I'm doing
Yeah.
the best I can. I'm trying my best. And that's it. At the end of the day, if I was to pass tomorrow, Sarb, I know I've done everything I can. And that's great. I feel good about
Yeah.
that.
I really appreciate you and I really appreciate your work, Grace. And I will link your work and I'm going to
Thank
ask you
you
to
so much.
provide me a little bit of a bio so whoever
Sure.
watches this learns more. So thank you so much, Grace, for your time. And
Mm,
I
My
look
pleasure.
forward to having you over again here. Okay.
My
But
pleasure,
bye for
sir.
now.
Good to see you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Thank
Take
you.
care,
Bye.
love.